Welcome to Weird Futures Comic Talk. I'm your host Bob Cheesy, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys today this week's issue of Captain America's Steve Rogers, issue number 7, who is written by Nick Spencer and the artist by Jesus Saiz. And I would like to begin by saying that this issue in particular is very good. I am very happy with how Nick Spencer has been treating Captain America with his Jurassic change, but I'll expand more about that point later on. I just want to talk about the meat and bones of the issue, and then I'll feed back to you my thoughts about it overall. The issue begins with Steve Rogers talking to Dr. Selvig and their conspiracy to overthrow the Red Skull. Well, it's not much of a conspiracy, it's more of a plot to overthrow the Red Skull by assassinating him and taking over Hydra. And throughout this issue, we see them jumping in and out of their conversations. And in the beginning, you see Red Skull encouraging, rallying, and empowering the nation of Hydra, whatever nation that exists. And he basically says that Hydra needs to liberate Sokovia, that he wants to begin his expansion there. And what happens is, one of the key players against Hydra, or should I say one of Hydra's rivals, is the force of Navoti. I might be mispronouncing that, so please forgive me, but that's how I'll be saying it. If somebody can correct me, that'd be great. But basically, Navoti, one of Red Skull's and Hydra's enemies, Red Skull actually goes to visit him and reveals a plot to work together with him to basically make Hydra look weak, make Navoti look like the savior that the world needs from Hydra, all in an overall plan to have Hydra in a good worldview spectacle. And even General Navoti asks, well, what is in it for me if Hydra is the one that looks like the winner? And Red Skull reveals that you get to live for as long as you keep up this operation of making Hydra look good. And do not forget, during this time period of Captain America Steve Rogers, and ultimately right now in the canon Marvel Universe, Red Skull has telepathy as strong as Charles Xavier at this point. So, and it was a very interesting dynamic in the beginning of their conversation, because as soon as General Navoti enters his domain, he basically challenges Red Skull that, why are you here? Why not just kill me already? You have every power to influence my mind. You can manipulate me how you see fit. However, Red Skull refuses and says, no, I want to talk to you, which I thought was a very interesting dynamic in the beginning of the conversation. So, in this plot for Red Skull to take over the force of Navoti and ultimately rival S.H.I.E.L.D., because he actually confesses and says that right now the state of Hydra is not strong enough to take on S.H.I.E.L.D., and one of the ways that Hydra will gain the influence of the people of Sokovia is by kidnapping one of its previous freedom fighters. General Alois Dens is his name, and which Captain America busts him out of prison, and you see he's a frail old man, but they're clinging on to they're using him to cling on to the sentimentality of the people of Sokovia, to use him as a puppet, an idol, a figure to manipulate the people of Sokovia, to overturn. It's a big publicity stunt. And which is interesting is that Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, actually comes and assists Steve Rogers, thinking that, yeah, they're fighting for the freedom and the sake of Sokovia, for the betterment of the world. Little does she know, or should I say she doesn't even know, that this is actually a political move made by Hydra for gaining control of the world. This is an overall master plan. And the issue ends by showing a flashback of Steve Rogers being bullied as a kid in the boarding school that he attended, the conditioning boarding school that helped shape the mind that Steve Rogers is. And like every great Marvel hero, Steve Rogers is being bullied by the other kids in this Hydra boarding school due to, in the beginning of this issue, one of the teachers admired Steve Rogers' answers to one of the questions he poses, and the kids thought that Steve is weak and he's lesser minded than the rest of them, and so out of jealousy and spite of Steve Rogers, they were bullying on him and picking on him, beating him up. And then it reveals that some shadowy figure was hiding on the top of this barn that at the location of where these kids were beating up Steve Rogers. And this shadowy figure reveals himself to be a kid and defends Steve Rogers from these bullies. And he reveals his name is Helmut Zemo. And it was brilliantly put when Steve Rogers was hiding a locked door, a confidential door from the good doctor that he's collaborating with to overthrow Hydra. And it turns out that Steve Rogers had actually captured and imprisoned Zemo when he was sent to assassinate him from the Red Skull. So now for my overall feedbacks and thoughts about this issue in particular. I would like to say that I like what they're doing with Captain America. I like the direction that he's being taken into, and how he's not just a foot soldier who fights for freedom and liberty and whatnot, but he's like a spy. He uses the arts of espionage and manipulation and psychology, and Nick Spencer is really handling it well, where you would expect a lot of backlash from hardcore Marvel fans about how Steve Rogers is in general, how he's anti-communist, anti-fascism, and anti-authoritarian, but in this spectacle, it is very anti-Steve Rogers. And this is against his very idea and very core beliefs. And I, as a big Marvel fan, enjoy this direction that I see Captain America, and it's done really well. And one of the awesome things I found about this issue was the flashbacks, how it relates and pertains to the story, and how they implement it in the current events that is happening of Captain America and what he's doing at the current moment. Like, for example, when, like I've explained, how the past of Captain America being saved from the bullies, from Zemo, and you see Captain America revealing he actually imprisoned Zemo and captured him, and he reveals that, yeah, he's alive. And it's handled very well in this case. And so good job to Nick Spencer. I like the direction that this comic is heading. I expect more good things out of it, and I can't wait for the next issue. So I hope you guys enjoy this format where I start by giving a brief synopsis, follow some feedback, what I liked and enjoyed, and some themes and elements that were covered in this issue. And I definitely will be looking forward to more Captain America Steve Rogers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more comic book coverage from Weird Future. I'm one of your hosts, Bob Cheesy. It is my pleasure to cover this issue for you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more comic book stuff from Weird Future.